Hello, Galaxy. I'm Chris Pirillo, and I wanted to show you the first issue of the High Republic comic. Unfortunately, I don't have one because, as I have lamented recently on both the live streams and in a video I did in relation to a comic haul, I don't have a comic store anymore. The comic store that I used to have, it wasn't mine, but the one that I frequented, the one that I supported, went online only a couple of years ago because they lost their lease, which was unfortunate because they were in a great location, and I loved their store because they had Star Wars figures in it and other Star Wars goodies that otherwise I wouldn't have been able to pick up. I like supporting small businesses. I like supporting comic stores. But we don't really have any other comic store alternatives here in our greater area that are as convenient, that worked the same way. Even when my comic store went online, and they did that for a couple years, it was fine, but it wasn't the same. They were nice people, great customer service and everything, but they couldn't do it. And a couple of months ago, they went out of business. So all of my subscriptions to the Star Wars comics basically lapsed. And I was hoping that I'd be able to potentially pick up comics somewhere else. Silly me. I didn't pre-order anything, because every time I asked my community, hey, where should I get comics from, I couldn't really get a good answer. And I know there are good answers out there, but it's not the same as it used to be. And honestly, it wasn't that great for me, even when it used to be what it was. I want a comic store I can walk into every day. I would love to do that. But now everything's going online. And no exception to that is the way I got the comic today. If you didn't hear something tapping the table, it's because I got my tablet here. That's how I got the comic. Paid for it. Luckily, I used some free credits that I earned by doing opinions. Star Wars, The High Republic, 1. This would have cost $3.99. It did, but I just used credits that I earned, so I basically got it for free. But the print edition would have cost $3.99 too. Now, I have no idea if you can see the image on this particular page, but I gotta make sure I flip the right part of the screen. You don't have that problem with physical pages, I'm saying. But what I loved about this is it placed the High Republic on the timeline. It is way back there. Now, I'm not going to show this for every particular page. I'm just showing it for argument's sake. That's how I read the comic. This is, quite honestly, the first comic I've read digitally. And I've redeemed all the comics prior to this, because Marvel does that. If you buy the physical edition for $3.99, you get the digital version for free, even though you pay the same amount, which is just baffling to me, unless of course you get a discount wherever you order your comics through. I haven't found a good comics place. I know I keep coming back to that, but please, if you know one, let me know. The story, it's way back when, the Jedi are, going full force. Literally, they are the knights maintaining peace in the Republic. But the way that this has been staged, the High Republic in general, has me a little concerned. Not because it's Star Wars, not because it's taking place in this particular era, which has largely been unexplored, and I'm not talking about Legends in the EU, I mean specifically canon. It's a good era to explore. So many new characters, so many new story possibilities, and loose connections, certainly, to the greater galaxy. I'm not going to spoil what I read in this comic. I'll give you my feelings here in a moment. But my concern with the High Republic isn't even that it is a publishing venture, because that's great for the publishers. The issue I have is, I'm a visual kind of guy. If I'm going to take this in, it's going to be visually. It's going to be through the comics or the manga or the graphic novels. And I'm not sure I get the same feeling about Star Wars when I read comics or graphic novels or manga to a certain degree as I do if I'm watching a cartoon or if I'm watching a film or a live action series, episodic television, if you will, right? Like The Mandalorian. I get different feelings. So I knew that would be a shortcoming. Walking into the High Republic, which I have every intention on following through with. I think it's great that they're trying this. But I wonder if they understand that not every fan can come along. Because I can tell you, not every Star Wars fan out there reads the comics, they probably know the comics exist. Probably. But maybe they don't because comic stores really don't exist anymore. Comics don't get pushed in that way, which is disappointing for, completely different reasons. And not everybody reads books. I don't necessarily read books. Not that I wouldn't want to, it's just not how I enjoy Star Wars. So I'm worried that I'm not going to get the same kind of feeling with the High Republic as I have had with Star Wars in other eras, with characters that I've definitely known. And even though I'm not going to share any spoilers with the comic, it was a pretty quick read. It was, for a digital comic, given that this was the first digital comic I ever, purchased, which I did redeem, fully legit, above board. It was an easy nav. I gotta tell, it was good. I enjoyed reading the comic this way as much as I have enjoyed reading comics in a traditional sense. So I'm not even taking away from that, the digital version of the comic. It was enjoyable to read that way. You could zoom in. You could always take your time, enjoy the art. The thing I always miss with comics, sometimes the dialogue is a little disjointed, and especially when you're talking about characters you don't know. I'm going to have to read this a few times because the High Republic has got a lot of new characters, a ton of new characters and settings and stories and names, and it's going to be very difficult to keep track of. I know that's going to be the case for me, and I'm not saying that's not a slag against Disney or Marvel or any of the people who are involved with this amazing project. It's just a concern. I need something more, and I almost wish, that we had some kind of accompaniment of something that was a little more palatable for people like me. I'm a casual comic reader. I'm not, knee deep. I'm not someone who could rattle off issue number 17 on page 4. I'm not comic book guy. That was the worst impression ever. It was a little better. But it's going to be a good series. I just wish that it was something a little more than what it is. But that wouldn't make it what it is. Because it's all about the power of publishing in Star Wars. And I don't know if it's an experiment necessarily, and it may very well be. I think it will be very successful for what it is. Because a lot of the people I follow in fandom on social, specifically Twitter, whether it's through my personal account or through the Star Wars Radar community account, a lot of people read the books. That's usually how I found out about characters, because people will tweet them over and over and over and over again. But I do hope the characters and the stories make their way out. And I know I can't be the only one who would want that to happen. But yeah, it was an interesting experience, getting something digitally because I had no choice. Don't get me wrong. I'm still going to go back when I can and get a print version of the comic when I can. It may be second printing or whatever. I don't think it's gonna be worth that much. They're modern comics, but I'll still get a print edition at some point down the road. Just not now. Yeah, the comic store I went to that was close-ish. They didn't even have them in stock. Even the people that pre-ordered them couldn't even get. They didn't have them. They didn't ship. I'm like, man, this is just not a good time for publishing. Certainly comic books, but man, that's probably a different topic for a different day. I'd love to interview some comic book store owners, specifically those that carry Star Wars and love Star Wars as much as I do. Maybe I'll do that live at some point in the near future with everybody. What do you think? Are you enjoying the High Republic so far? Not that there's much to enjoy to this point. Are you interested in what they're doing with it? Whether or not we see things the same way, hopefully we can enjoy Star Wars together. So may the Force be with you, always.